Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Haefele. Let's get this out of the way. Our DraftKings pick of the week, AJ. Look, we delved deep on this one to find the best bet on all of DraftKings Sportsbook for this one, all right? You have to go in. You have to go look hard for this one. Under racing, under NASCAR, under their truck series, go in there, find yourself a man named Norm Benning, and make a bet on that guy.
Yep.
So, look, it's all right. There's a very specific thing. First of all, to win the race, he's plus 100,000. Which I don't think I've ever seen a bet with that high of odds anywhere.
Yeah.
So just put $1 down on him to win for the fun of it. If it works out, you basically have won the lottery. But also, for a guy who's plus 100,000 to win, he's only plus 1,900 to finish in the top 5. So it feels like there's actually a chance that old Norm could do this one.
I'm a big believer in old Norm, so I think honestly it feels like the plus 100,000 is a mistake.
They added an extra zero there or something.
Yeah, straight up. You need to be capitalizing on that because those are absurd odds. What is that even?
Yeah, it is pretty outrageous that they were actually put the numbers 100,000 out there.
Yeah.
So get in there, put your bet down on Norm Benning, and maybe win yourself some money.
Whoever's responsible for making the Truck Series odds may not have a job in a week.
If this dude pulls it out,
yeah,
it's going to be weird if like a bunch of bets come in and by like tomorrow night, Benning is down to like plus 1,500 or something. They realize their mistake. Yes,
I'm hoping so.
I shaved my head, chat. I shaved my face. It was like this on yesterday's show too, so it'll grow back like it always does. On today's show, though, first of all, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code DNVR. Get in there. They have amazing odds boosts going on right now, but Norm Benning is the only odds boost you need. So jump in there.
Plus 100,000.
Right, exactly right. That don't need any boosts for that deal to be a good one. But download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right. On today's show, we're talking around the league. We talked yesterday about the best and worst moves the Avs made. That's done and dusted. Today, we're getting the best, worst, weirdest, most interesting moves from around the league this offseason. Should be a fun one. We have some pretty eclectic choices, I think. A little all over the place, but I'm excited.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know what each other picked.
Yeah, I have no idea what AJ picks, so we're gonna find out as we go. I guess do we just want to jump in with the best ones, AJ? Is that where you want to start?
Yep, and this is actually the one that I struggled the most with. I really didn't know what to pick for best move.
I knew what to pick, but we'll get to mine in a second. So, I don't know. Are you on the wrong mic? Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
Or maybe they can just hear it. You said it was raining out? Oh, no. Yeah, you're on the wrong mic for sure.
I don't know why it does it. It's so weird, man. There are times where I roll in here and it's correct, like yesterday.
It just auto switches at random sometimes. Well, I mean, that's our luck with technology, I guess.
So bizarre.
But
anyway,
the best move of the offseason officially, AJ switching his mic now.
Yeah, really. No, I went with Winnipeg trading for Brendan Dillon and Nate Schmidt.
Right.
I kind of cheated a little bit.
Yeah, that's two moves.
It's two moves, but it's really the same move twice.
Yeah, to shore up their defense and
because like Neil Pionk has been a revelation for them. Billy Hanel is their top prospect. He's ready to rock. He's NHL ready.
Yep.
They've got Logan Stanley in there as well. Dylan DeMello was hurt most of last year. And then I'm missing one. Neil Pionk has been really good for them. And then you just hope that Josh Morrissey ever comes close to living up to the contract he already has. But now Josh Morrissey has help. They've been relying on him as a true top pairing defenseman, and now with both Dillon and Schmidt there, that could honestly just be a pairing. They could just there you go.
Together and ride.
There's your new second pairing, and all the other guys move down a spot if they wanted to. And I know Schmidt has slipped a little bit, but for the cost of a third round pick, it's just such good value. I mean, they give up 3 draft picks and they got 2 legit defensemen.
I mean, I'm trying to think of a team that got better at their weakest position to the level that Winnipeg did, and
you could look at what New Jersey did with Dougie Hamilton and Ryan Graves and make that argument as well.
I'm about to make that argument in a second. So
okay, well, that when I looked around the league, that was the only other really strong consideration that I had was those 2 moves by New Jersey where they attacked a big sore spot for their organization and didn't really give very much up to do it. And they look like they're in a whole lot better position now to be competitive in terms of playoff spots.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the difference with Winnipeg, right? Because they were already a team that was either in or flirting with playoff spots over the last couple of years. If not, depending on Hellebuck, pushing potentially deep into the playoffs. So, and
that's why I think that what Winnipeg did was that's why I think what Winnipeg did was so good is because their top 6 is one of the 5 best in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Their goaltender is one of the 5 best in the NHL. And now they go from having a bottom 10, maybe even bottom 5 defense to being middle of the road, maybe a little bit better, depending on just kind of where you wanted to put them.
But middle of the road with a high-end goalie behind it.
Yeah, with a high-end goalie and a high-end
forward in front of it.
Yeah, I talk about their top 6 a lot and how good that is. But when you get into their bottom 6, that third line's pretty good too, with guys like Lowry and Kopp hanging around. So it's like the Jets, I think, have built a really good team, and I think that they are kind of right now. I would say that they're my sleeper pick for Cup contention. But they're still in a position where a lot of that has to go right. And that they still don't have a true top pairing on defense, but filling out the defensive depth will help alleviate that problem quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm a little apprehensive to say that they're going to be in Cup contention, but this is certainly a team that, let's be honest, 6 months ago, the entire West was basically Colorado and Vegas on a different tier from everybody else. And Winnipeg has at least thrown their hat into that ring.
Yeah, I think when you get back into the regular Western and Eastern Conference alignment, you start to look at the Pacific Division is Vegas and
a bunch of teams, basically.
Probably Edmonton, and then lots of question marks after that.
Yep.
And then in the Central, it's Colorado, and then St. Louis, Winnipeg, Dallas.
I mean, I think Winnipeg,
Nashville, Chicago, they're all going to kind of be in that same tier.
Well, I think Winnipeg kind of pushed themselves to the top of that list besides Colorado.
But that's where I agree, is that I think Winnipeg moved for solidified their position like no lower than like second on that list.
Yeah. And of course, you have to play the games. You never know. If Hellebuyck gets hurt in Game 3, they're screwed. But
yeah, well, they did lose. The big question, they have a major question mark at backup goaltender.
Yep.
They lost Brossois, who was a very, very good backup for them the last couple of years, and replaced him at the moment. It looks like it's going to be Comrie.
Yeah,
who hasn't done anything in the NHL, so that's going to be a problem in those 20 games that Connor Hellebuyck doesn't play. It might be 15.
Yeah, they might work him hard this year for sure. Their third goalie is nothing to speak of either.
You never know with Mikhail Burden though. He's the guy who kicked the puck a few years ago. He's fun.
I feel like you could say that about any goaltender, though. You never know, but
yeah, I mean, you're right. In like expectations are not high there, but he's been a guy that's had some success at the AHL level, where you could be like, it's not out of the realm of possibility
at
that
least
this
talk
guy
yourself into it with him.
Yeah, as like a backup guy who can make a couple of spot starts and keep them competitive. But
all right,
after that, anyway.
Okay, on my side of this, I know I said Dougie, but that's actually a different pick. For best move, for me, it was very, very simple. It was an internal move. Funnily enough, if I had to pick maybe the worst, I guess he's not GM, he's president, right? Ken Holland is president of their hockey ops, not the GM, but somehow he made the best move of the offseason in getting RNH to extend for 5 1/4 for 8 years. I am absolutely in love with this move. I think RNH is going to be a great, for most of that contract, probably a second liner. If you want to put him up to play with McDavid, you can.
That contract probably has value all 8 years.
Yeah, like even in the 8th year, it's only $5 million. Like,
right, you consider that the cap has probably gone up $10 million.
Yep,
maybe more, and percentage-wise, it's just such a low number by that point. It's like a 4% of the cap number at that point, where it's just living up to it. It's just not very difficult. There are going to be bad defensemen that the Oilers sign.
It's just
to higher numbers than that.
It's crazy to me how much RNH gets lost in the shuffle on that team with McDavid and Draisaitl, because this is a dude who had 2 seasons. He almost had 70 points. He had 69 points in 18-19, and then was nearly a point per game player in 19-20 in the shortened year. He had 61 points in 65 games. And this dude signed for a little over $5 million for this team.
He's good, man. That's a sweetheart deal.
Yeah, he's gonna be an Oiler for life, basically, and I guess getting to play behind and or with McDavid probably didn't hurt him wanting to come back. But we've seen that team struggle mightily with their forward depth for sure.
Just out of curiosity, with Landeskog and RNH both signing 8-year deals. I wonder if both of those guys finish their careers with the teams that drafted them. I wonder how many times the draft has produced lifelong players at 1 and 2.
Yeah, it can't be that often, right?
Now the pressure's really on for Jonathan Huberdeau to sign in Florida. Give us a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that you're especially, first overall picks. It's not unusual for them to, and we'll see, later in their career go other places. But
yeah,
the thing
though, is that both of them are on 8-year deals
until they're 36, and it's like, well,
they could both reasonably be done by that point, where it's just like, wow, that's so. And it's funny because neither one of them are superstar caliber players. And so for them to have just stayed the entire time would be fascinating stuff.
Both are pretty clear-cut the third best forward on their teams. So, Landy paid a little bit more for sure, but also a little bit different in how they get their jobs done. So,
yeah, I didn't really think about re-signings too much when I was doing this, but I can't argue too much with you. It's a great value for them. They get a really good player. They basically get all of his productive years left, and the price tag just is not exorbitant if he hits the wall at any point.
And it was just so, at the time, Edmonton hadn't made any other insane decisions this offseason.
Yeah, that was like how they started their offseason.
Yeah.
And it looked like, oh god, are the Oilers going to figure this out? Which is like the scariest thing imaginable.
If they ever actually do.
Oh my god, they're going to figure it out, and they're going to surround McDavid and Draisaitl with horses.
And then they signed Zach Hyman to $1 billion, and we got Duncan Keith and Cody Ceci.
They had a really strange offseason. They had a really expensive offseason.
Yeah.
Where I think they get a little bit better, but I don't know how much.
Just a little all over the place.
Yeah.
But
a weird offseason.
Yeah.
That I think when we get to the bad part of this, we'll talk about it, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely some of those moves were not good. We'll put it that way. But we do need to hit up Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. Lord knows Edmonton fans probably need a drink every offseason. So Breck Brew has you covered for that. Go get yourself one of their 8 different beers on tap down at the DNVR bar, or head to your local liquor store. Keep an eye out for the Good Company Hard Seltzer. Super delicious. If you can find it, get it. They do move quickly, so you got to find some, give it a try. It's awesome stuff. And of course, you can get their beer with their Breck Beer Locator online. And then, if you're looking to make a little bit of beer money, you can hit up the Ball Corporation, as they are currently hiring for their plant down in Golden. You can go to jobs.ball.com or text Golden to 77222 to get an application. Check them out. They're a great company to work for. They give you a living wage. They have decent benefits. They actually treat their employees like human beings, unlike some companies out there. But, it's not like you'd be working for Eugene Melnick or something, at least. Put it that way. Ball is great. We love them over here. Obviously.
Ball is life.
True, especially when you play in Ball Arena. But yeah, they're an awesome company. They will also give you opportunities to advance your career as well. They can provide trainings for things if you have holes in your resume, stuff like that. So they have you covered. Check them out. Get hooked up. They do a bunch of stuff, not just aluminum cans, but even stuff like aerospace industry and monitoring resources here on Earth. So a bunch of awesome stuff. Again, jobs.ball.com to apply. And when you're making beer money, that means you're also making a little bit of money to sign up for a membership with us here at DNVR, maybe. So jump on the annual membership right now. It's a great deal. You get a free shirt with it. You get discounts on gear. You get a big beer at the bar. You get to join the DNVR lounge, a bunch of other stuff as well. Yeah, we do cool stuff. I know. Is your piece up yet, AJ, about the Avs good bad off season, or is that coming soon?
Yeah, it'll be this afternoon. As soon as we get done, with this show, I'll finish going through and putting all the social media stuff on there.
Well, there you go. So, to get a membership just to read that piece right there, if you want it. A bunch of other stuff coming all off season, during the season as well. You know how we work. Check out our stuff. We think it's pretty cool. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Getting into the offseason moves from around the league. AJ, are you ready for your next pick here?
Yeah, we're doing worst now, right?
Next, yes.
All right, so my worst move. I don't think it's going to be on too many people's worst move list, but I have Vegas trading for Evgeny Dadonov as the worst move.
Interesting.
So, let me explain, because I know that there will be some disagreement here. Basically, and it's funny, I packaged two moves in one for my first pick, but didn't want to do it for this one. But it's really the combination of what they did in trading Marc-Andre Fleury for literally nothing. They have the Vezina winning goaltender making $7 million. They know that they've got to clean it out. They've got to clean out money because they need to sign Alec Martinez. They need to back up. And then they need help at forward. They really badly needed a center. And they gave away Marc-Andre Fleury for literally nothing. The prospect that they got in return, they just bought out. And put him on unconditional waivers.
Oops.
So, and they had already agreed to keep him in Chicago's system. They had no interest in the player. They gave away the guy who just won the Vezina for nothing.
Yep.
And then turned around and used that money and traded for Evgeny Dadonov, who was a really, really good player in Florida and was a really, really not good player in Ottawa. But not only that, but his last year in Florida, he declined significantly. And that decline continued last year. This is a Stanley Cup contender that has to make every single dollar count. And they traded for a dude with 2 years left on his deal at $5 million, who is already 32, doesn't address any of their weakness in at center. And at best, you can say, well, Alex Tuch is now lost for the start of the season with a long-term injury. He could take Tuch's spot. Great. So he keeps you afloat in that spot, but he doesn't address any of your other problems. Your strength of your team was your defense, your goaltending, and your wings. You got worse at goaltender to get deeper at wing. You traded a strength and turned it into, I don't know. It's not really a weakness, but it's no longer like a heart of their team. They're just a good goaltending team now.
And the reality is, Chandler Stevenson or William Karlsson is still their 1C.
Right, and the Nolan Patrick gamble could pay off enormously for them. That could be a downright coup. But until that actually happens, this roll of the dice with Dadonov, and it's especially that they committed that he's got 2 years left on that deal, because they are already so up against the cap. They have like $30K in cap space, and
negative $30K, in fact.
Negative $30K, Jesus. And that won't be as big of a deal because of the Tuch LTIR at the start of the year. They'll be able to get around that, no problem. But they have no space to maneuver throughout the year and do anything else with. And Dadonov is one of the reasons for that. That's $5 million that they have committed to next year as well, that they did not have committed. And that's going into an offseason where they have Riley Smith, Matthias Janmark, a bunch of their depth forwards, but then Braden McNabb, Nick Hague, and Zach Whitecloud, all on expiring deals. And you keep in mind that this is a prospect pool that is not very deep and is not going to be able to replace any of those guys on defense, and they just made it much harder on themselves to keep all three. That's half of their defense.
I don't see any way they can keep Riley Smith if they want to keep their defense as well with what they've done. Even if you say Riley Smith is gone, you just drop Alex Tuch in that spot.
Or Dadonov.
Well, right, but they're locked into 6 forwards that they're paying right now $5 million or more. If you replace Smith with Alex Tuch, I guess he's only making 4.75. But this team is extremely top heavy when you compare it to the Avs, for example, who they have some decent deals in their depth there, where both Berkey and Kadri are making less than $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Last year they had Saad as well, and even look at Dadonov's contract compared to Brandon Saad's contract that he signed in the offseason. Yes, there's more term on Saad, but he's under $5 million.
Saad is also 28. Dadonov is
for
32.
Yeah.
His decline has been well underway for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Dadonov gets to Vegas and being around a bunch of good players again, that boosts that profile, and he goes back to being the near point per game guy he was in Florida when he first came over from the KHL.
Sure.
But that's a really expensive and weird bet to make when, again, like, wing is already the strength of their roster. Which of Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, John Marchessault, and Riley Smith is he replacing?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've replaced Alex Tuck for those couple more. All right, when Alex Tuck comes back, now you have a third line, and with Tuck and Dadonov, great. Like, that's a ton of skill, and that's okay, right? Like, that's all good and well. But Dadonov doesn't play to their identity. Doesn't play a tough game. He doesn't play a physical game. He's not a grinded out kind of guy. He's more of a perimeter oriented offensive player who has been on a steep decline for 2 years. It's just there were worse moves this year.
I agree with that.
You look at the Darnell Nurse contract. You look at the Tucker Poolman contract. You look at the entire Seth Jones thing, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
You look at the Duncan Keith deal. There were worse moves, but I think that this one is going to be a high impact problem for Vegas.
The problem here is they were already so tight against the cap, and they decided to spend their money this offseason that they freed up on Dadonov and bringing back Alec Martinez.
Yeah, and then replacing Fleury with Brossoit, who's a really good backup, who's been really good in Winnipeg the last couple of years. Rock solid backup. I have no issues with Brossoit. Their goaltending should be just fine. But it's no longer like that defense has to be nails. And when you're talking Alec Martinez just got a 3-year deal at age 34. Alex Pietrangelo is 31. Braden McNabb is 30. Like, these are some dudes who it's fair to wonder when we're going to see some slippage. And now, without an elite goaltending duo behind them, if they see any slippage from that defense, Vegas should easily run away with the Pacific no matter what. But how much does this get Vegas across that conference final finish line? Does it get them into the Cup finals? They should have a pretty easy route to at least the conference finals going through the Pacific. Yeah. Does this help them get across? I don't think it does. That's why I have it as the worst move. Because it just doesn't do anything for them. And they've committed assets, money. They lose Fleury for nothing. And this is how they retool. For me, it's a super high impact mistake.
I mean, this is very much the culmination of the George McPhee and then I guess Kelly McCrimmon as well built team, right? There's an argument as to whether they even made themselves better, and beyond that, every time they continue to make these big moves and spend this big money instead of trying to internally promote players and doing so effectively, they push themselves closer to the cliff.
Yep.
And look, yes, you can find teams that take on money for you every offseason, just like they did with Fleury if you have to, but the team's not getting any younger. The team is it really pushing towards the Cup? If they don't do it this year, is that it? Is the window closed? There's an argument that yes, it is.
Well, and I think Brad has a great comment here in the chat. Like, how much better would they be? If no Dadonov, but they got Phil Deneau.
Yeah.
And like, Phil Deneau is not a very good offensive player, but he's an excellent defensive center.
Yep.
And you drop him into one of those lines, and you put Phil Deneau next to Stone and Pacioretty, being the distributor that he is, You have a line that can give you 2 point per game guys. Certainly in Max Pacioretty, a guy that can give you 30 goals. And then you have two of the best defensive players at their positions in Deneau and Mark Stone. A total disaster of a line to play against. Just truly nightmarish to go up against. Does that solve their puck in the net problem? Does Phil Deneau solve that? No. It doesn't. But it's so much better because then Chandler Stevenson gets to move down in their lineup into a much more appropriate role where he can actually thrive instead of having to play over his head.
Yep.
And what Chandler Stevenson did last year was downright admirable. But asking him to do it again, you're asking for a problem. And maybe that's where Nolan Patrick bails them out. But that's what they're relying on. They need Nolan Patrick to bail them out. They need Peyton Krebs to be special, not just really good, but he's got to be
the man immediately.
Awesome rookie.
Yeah.
In order for them to make up for this. And the second year of the Dadonov thing, it's just so bad, man. It's bad.
You won't hear an argument from me. I think Vegas is teetering on the edge of the cliff, basically.
Yeah, this has been an insane run for them. You know, they've got 3 conference finals appearances? 2?
Yep. 3, I think.
And a cup finals? Like, they've done right by that fan base. They've gone hard. They get there. I mean, they just can't quite seem to break through. And I just don't think that this helped them get there. And that's why I have it as the worst move.
All right. My move is not quite so complicated on the worst side.
Sorry.
I kept it pretty simple, although I did also skirt the rules, and this is really 2 moves with 1 player. The New York Rangers gave up a 3rd round pick to acquire Ryan Reeves and then extended him for a year because just acquiring for 1 year wasn't enough. They needed him for another year. And I cannot comprehend this move for an organization that was so quickly moving in the right direction. And then they don't get great years out of Kakko in his first 2 years. They don't get a great year out of Laugh in his first year. And it feels like this rebuild is starting to stall a little bit. Ryan Reeves is the complete opposite of the answer to what problems that this organization had as far as getting over the line to try to get back to being a competitive team in the East. It just does not make any sense in any universe to me that Ryan Reeves is the answer for them in what they needed instead of more opportunity for their kids and trying to sort out their defense a little bit to round it out. They have great young kids in Fox and Miller. They ended up getting Nemeth, which will fill in fine for them. But when you're a team,
be a better fit there.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, all right. Either way, to me, it feels like a team that is trying to fight to get back to playoff contention at best is treading water with a move like bringing on Ryan Reeves for multiple years, and at worst is actively hurting their forward depth.
How interesting is it that Chris Drury has been considered one of the next, he's been considered like a rising star as a GM.
Was targeted as a GM for a while, and turned jobs down to stay in New York.
Exactly. He has turned down multiple interviews to continue on with the Rangers where he wanted to be GM, and then you look at his first offseason and it's like,
not great, Bob.
Man, that's questionable stuff. It looks a lot like when Sakic started.
Yeah. Trying to find his feet a little bit.
So don't want to give up on Drury yet, before games get played, but
it's just, and the team's in such a weird spot too. They have like 8 million in cap space, 9 million in cap space almost left.
Yeah, they have a lot of expensive deals to be given out here.
They do. Next year they're gonna have to pay a bunch of dudes, but yeah, that's right. And then they got Sammy Blais too. I forgot the Buchnevich deal was just a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, they did not have a good offseason.
Yep.
In general, it was not great, man.
Yeah.
Maybe if they can get the Eichel thing done at some point, it might salvage that. But you still want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Ryan Reeves as the poster child of that badness because I just don't think that he helps your hockey team in any way, shape, or form.
While I do agree that like Ryan Reeves isn't gonna solve any of their actual, real, legitimate problems, I just have a hard time, and this is the reason why I didn't go with Tucker Poolman. I can't call the worst move something that involves a fourth line player.
I can when you give up a 3rd-round pick for him and then extend him.
I understand that the 6-year deal for Barclay Goodrow was.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. God, this was not a great offseason for the Rangers.
It wasn't. It really, really wasn't. But
yeah, so this is where I struggle with putting a move like this as worst, but by no means is that any kind of.
There's no saving the move, even if it's not the worst move.
It's like I won't agree with you that this is the worst move, but that doesn't mean that it's not awful business.
Okay, I can accept that. I can live with that move. We are brought to you, beautiful people, by Solace Meds. 4 different locations in Colorado. It sure seems like Chris Drury might have been hitting him up before some of the.
I was gonna say, man, he needs to chill out on the Solace Med runs if he's gonna keep making moves.
I hope he's at least getting 20% off with code DNVR20. You can purchase online for pickup at the local store near you. One in Wheat Ridge, one just a few blocks from the bar, one up in Fort Collins as well. So they got you covered pretty much anywhere in Colorado. And when you go to the Wheat Ridge location, you'll also get a free King Cone as well when you purchase anything. So hit them up, get your cannabis needs from Solace. And then when you get the munchies, head on over to Haefele Cattle Company. Get your 10% off there with DNVR 10. Order any of their amazing meats, whether it be their Wagyu beef burgers, which you can get at the bar, or, their tomahawk steaks, their ribeyes, whatever, you name it. They have delicious stuff all the way top to bottom. If you get $200 or more, get a little group order going. Or if you're Drew Kreisman, you have like a meat freezer that you can pack all that into. Then
that was the funniest revelation.
Yeah.
We have our company Slack channel that we use for communicating about everything. It's not even just work; it's everything. And
we'll set up group orders for the whole company.
Yeah, and Drew just rolls in and is like, "What do you mean a group order?" And we're like, "So that we get to the $200." And he's like, "I don't need a group order for that."
Yeah,
and we're all just like, "Bro, what? What do you mean?"
Somewhere in Drew's house is a freezer full of meat at all times, must be fully stocked. So
yeah, no kidding.
So if you got a meat freezer, you can get the $200 by yourself or set up a group order. It gets a free shipping either way with HaefeleCattleCompany.com. And then while you're at it, hit up Green Mountain Dental Group. If you're a meat eater like myself, you got to take care of your teeth. Obviously, I've had some teeth problems if you've watched the pod over the summer, but my teeth are good looking now. They look nice and clean. They look fresh, So Green Mountain Dental Group will take care of you. So if you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, they will give you a free Sonicare toothbrush as well to make taking care of your teeth that much easier at home. Everyone who switched says they've loved Green Mountain Dental as their dentist. So check them out, give them a shot, and you'll probably enjoy it, I guess. It's funny to me to say enjoy dental work because it's still dental work at the end of the day, but Green Mountain Dental Group, they'll make it as easy as possible compared to other dentists. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. AJ, what is Boldest move next? Is that where we're going? Or is it on brand? I forget.
Boldest.
All right. Boldest moves. You or me first?
Let's do you.
All right. So my boldest move is the one we alluded to earlier. I went with the New Jersey Devils selecting to acquire Dougie Hamilton for $9 million at $7 a year.
$7 a year. That's a good deal.
Oh, geez, yeah. What that's best move if they got him for $7 a year.
Somebody tell Dougie that's a little bit below minimum wage.
7 years at $9 million. There we go. Look, this is again more of like an accumulation. Dougie is the big splash they made this offseason, where I think he could be the piece that rounds out their defense nicely, and they should be competitive for a playoff spot, assuming they continue to get good years out of guys like the Hughes brothers, etc.
Certainly the Hughes that will play for them
yeah, that's
year.
True.
Luke will not
play. Yeah, he'll be in college, but either way, his year, all of their big forward pieces.
They definitely need what's his face? Jack Hughes. They need Jack Hughes to have
he needs to become a star.
Yeah, they need him to be the break-in. He can't be. Let's see here. Where was he last year? Give me 1 sec here. He was a 45-point pace is your top dog.
Yep.
Can't have that.
It's got to be significantly higher than that. But my reason that specifically the Dougie move is so bold is this team's lineup is hardly set at all. The only two players that they are committed to beyond 2023 is Hamilton and Hischier. Now, a bunch of those are RFAs, so they'll stick around, but they're going to have to pay those dudes. They're going to have to figure out what their organization looks like, and that means building around Dougie on the defensive side. It means ultimately building around Jack Hughes probably on the forward side. So this is their first big step to move back towards contention. I guess if you want to count that 1 year where Taylor Hall carried them to the playoffs, but beyond that,
it's kind of their second step. They tried this with the PK Subban deal, and it didn't go well.
Yeah, I'm kind of counting this as reboot compared to that, but you're correct.
Yeah, I mean they had their both first round picks are now in the NHL,
right?
And like rolling along now.
But it's a bold move that they have to continue building around successfully if they want to really get over the hump. As it stands right now, yes, they have good young pieces that need to break out. Yes, they've added an extremely solid piece in Dougie to their defense, but one man a defense does not make.
It's not a bad defense, though. I mean, you have Dougie, you do still have Subban, you have the criminally underrated Damon Severson. And then on the left side, you have Graves, Ty Smith, who had a really good rookie year, and Siegenthaler that they got from Washington.
You're not like that's a solid defense, but again, Subban's gone in a year. Severson's a UFA in 2 years. Same with Graves, and then Siegenthaler and Smith are RFAs that same year. So there's no commitment to anything yet from this team.
Right, and some of these like Subban can go. Severson, we'll see. Graves is like, look, he's going to be, this is the best hockey that they're going to get out of Graves. But Siegenthaler and Smith are two guys that, Smith obviously being just 21, those are two cats that they're going to build around. Like, those are guys that they want to actively keep and build up their group around those dudes. And obviously Dougie signing a long-term contract.
Yeah,
him too. Like it's really like their defense right now is they now have their number one in Dougie, which is a hard thing to find, and all these other guys can slot in at more appropriate roles. With Subban being just a 1 year, we'll just see how it goes. Whatever. And good Lord, man.
Yeah, who got shot outside your house? Like,
Jesus, dude, what is up?
They're coming because Dougie's not that bold of a move. I guess they're coming for me. I don't know, but I guess maybe I'm a little gun shy because I lived through a decade of Avalanche hockey where it's like, all right, you made the big move. Here's the step out to get back to competitive hockey, and then what happens when it doesn't come? what happens when they don't have a star forward that really breaks out. If Jack Hughes doesn't become that guy, all of a sudden,
like in they have like they got the number 1 D, okay, and that's not to say that there isn't work to do there. They're basically their entire forward core still has to figure it out.
Yep.
Heischer, Jack Hughes. You have Andreas Janssen. What's going on with that guy? They signed Tatar for a 2-year deal at $4.5 million. Like they've got, Kuokkanen, Sharangovich is still there. Zaka, Jesper Bratt, like tons of young guys. And this doesn't even count in Alexander Holtz and Nolan Foote, who I think are probably going to make that team. So I think that it's still just going to be this is determined by how good the young guys are. But
and
will Dougie be any good?
Right, when they finally get good.
Dougie's best years on this contract are likely in the next 2 to 3 years.
Right. If it takes them 4 or 5 years to find their footing, all of a sudden you're paying Dougie $9 million and he's 33 on your second or third pairing. And
the other question is how good is Mackenzie Blackwood? They got a really good backup for him in Jonathan Bernier. They paid a premium for him. But with Blackwood, that's the guy that they need to step. He needs to step forward too at 24. So we'll see. We'll see. It's not a bad team, but it's a team that there's no confidence that they're going to make the playoffs. But they should be competitive. They should be watchable. I'll say that. They should be watchable.
Comparing it to, say, last offseason, where the big defensive splash was Vegas going out and getting Pietrangelo for a similar number.
And adding him to a cup contender.
Right. And you look at that and you say, okay, that makes them real cup contenders. Whereas with New Jersey, you're making that big splash to maybe compete for the playoffs. Feels bold to me. But thank you for the super chat, Chad. $20. That's extremely generous. Very much appreciated.
I'm working on my hand heart.
Yeah, you got to get it in shape.
Yeah.
A little off center.
Yeah. Gotta get it back into use.
There we go. Yeah. All right. That's enough about mine. AJ, what's your bold move here?
I don't remember. Oh, Seth Jones, dude.
Okay. Yeah. That's a big one for sure.
Seth Jones. Chicago basically said, we've got Kane and Taves. We've committed to continuing to build around those guys. We got rid of Duncan Keith. We went and got Seth Jones' brother. That should help him want to re-sign, right? LOL. And then they traded the farm for him. They multiple first rounders. Adam Bolkvist. They went hard for Seth Jones and then gave him a massive deal.
Yeah, that deal is outrageous.
So that's a bold move. I know a lot of us have been like, ooh, not great. But we'll see how it goes. I want to see what Seth Jones does away from Tortorella.
Yep.
I'm not insinuating that Torts was his problem. I'm just saying I want to see how it goes.
It wouldn't be the first, wouldn't be the last person that Torts grinded on. We'll put it that way.
And especially under Jeremy Colleton, who has coached a system in Chicago that has just bled chances. So I want to see what happens. I think that the Blackhawks could be a problem this year, especially because Fleury is going to play for them.
We've talked about this a little bit before, right? Chicago's absolutely a team that if Fleury plays well, if Jones lives up to the hype, all of a sudden they're competitive in a central division that maybe isn't the best.
Yep. If Fleury plays to the caliber that he did last year, there's a problem.
Big problem.
Yeah.
I think at that point. But the other side of that coin, if Fleury's just okay, if Seth Jones doesn't return to his form of 3 years ago, and they're locked up into that dude for $9.5 million for eternity, they're in trouble.
Yep.
And I think that's the big danger of this move to me. Kane and Taves have 2 years left on their deal. and that's it. They might re-sign whatever, but they're only committed for sure to Kane and Toews for another 2 years.
Right, but then they get even older at that point.
Right, they're not getting any younger, and they're still locked into Seth Jones forever. It's easy to see how this move could backfire on them.
Yeah, but it's also easy to see. It's easy to see where Seth Jones bounces back, becomes the man, and lives up to his hype, and you're like, wow. We look back on this in a couple of years and it was like, all right, well, that went well. That's why I think that's why I would say it's a big old bold move, because they're rolling the dice that this goes the way that they envision, and they bet the farm on it. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm excited to see how it goes. I think Chicago is going to be interesting to watch this year. They aggressively retooled, got older, got more expensive, and all for what? For what? Like, they might make the playoffs and lose in the first round. At best case scenario right now, on paper, is probably a second round exit.
I think I think they should be ecstatic if they make the second round. Yeah.
Well, and that's because I'm saying, what if Fleury goes crazy here?
Sure.
And Seth Jones lives up to it, right? And you have Kane, and Toews has a reasonable bounce back. Then, yeah, I don't think they're good enough to go much further than that. But a second, if they go second round exit. And then what? Fleury retires?
I guess.
Like, he walks in free agency? Like, what happens?
Yeah.
That's where I'm kind of like, all of this in service of what? But
right.
The Seth Jones move, I love when teams push their chips to the middle and they go for it. Even if I don't like the move, even if I don't agree with it or anything, I love when teams get bold, when they get bold.
Tried. Yeah.
Yeah, and they say, you know what? Let's do this thing. I'm all about that.
Yeah. Really quick, the Barrie Colts officially signing Avs first rounder Oscar Olausson. We talked about how the Avs may have had a numbers problem of forwards in their AHL system, so not a huge surprise.
This is good for everybody involved. This is fine.
Yep.
I didn't really have a super strong feeling if he went to the OHL versus the Allsvenskan. I'd prefer him being on North American ice. He's in the OHL. Go do your thing, big dog. Good luck.
Gives me a reason to spend way too much money on the OHL package again, I guess.
Yo, tax write-off.
Yeah, tax write-offs aren't cash, though.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to do that stuff anymore, but true. It's like...
Well, and hopefully this year they get their shit off New Alien and it's a little bit cheaper, but...
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we've gotten this question twice now from the same person. Why is the Ryan Reeves move bad? If he's a good forechecker and can protect young guys, look, is it the contract or lack of offense? Protecting young guys is a myth, buddy.
Yeah.
This is a thing that hockey people talk about. Doesn't exist. There's no such thing in the NHL anymore as a deterrent for laying guys out. I remember people used to talk about Nikita Zadorov. Oh, they don't want to do that because then Zadorov, blah, 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 blah. I remember distinctly Nikita Zadorov being on the ice when Nathan McKinnon got his shit rocked in Washington. Nikita Zadorov didn't do a damn thing about it. And even if he had done a thing about it, it doesn't undo what had already happened. McKinnon had still gotten his shit rocked. It's just not a thing that exists anymore. Back in the day, when every team had guys that were paid exactly for that, it made a lot more sense. But Ryan Reeves is a relic. He's a bad hockey player that doesn't do anything anymore.
He doesn't have the skill to play in the modern game. His forechecking ability is a dime a dozen. The Avs have a million dudes who can do that. Logan O'Connor, TJ Tynan.
Yeah, Darren Helm is going to forecheck with a similar effectiveness, despite not being monstrous.
Some of those dudes making over $1 million less than what the Rangers actively extended Ryan Reeves for.
Right. They gave up a third round pick and gave him a new contract and he's one of the most limited players in the entire league at what he's useful for, and most of his usefulness comes anecdotally. It's the people who make the argument of, oh, he'll protect their young players. Really? Is that why Lafreniere and Kakao haven't been any good in their combined 3 NHL seasons? Is it because they didn't have a protector on the team? I don't. For me, this is just a nonsense concept these days. It was something that 10 or 15 years ago, I understood a lot more. I didn't like it, but I understood it because every team had guys like that. And so you needed a guy like that. You were missing something if you didn't have it. Now, there's one guy like that in the league at this point, and it's Ryan Reeves. Tom Wilson's an actual NHL player.
Last year, Reeves had 3 fights. That's it. You're paying a guy $1.75 million to, at most, fight 3 times. It's just not useful. And when you look back, look at the start of Reeves' career. It made a ton of more sense. His first year in the league, he fought 13 times because there were enforcers in the league. It was a thing that every team had. These dudes fought. Teams in the modern game realized, hey, maybe instead of having a fighter take up a roster spot, we have another skill player and we score more goals or we prevent more goals. And now I think even like the biggest team in the league, I think someone fought like 5 times last year, and that was the most fights for any one player.
Yeah, and it's not that teams don't need to be physical. You clearly need to have some level of physicality to be effective. It's just that you need to combine physicality
it's just
with skill. You need to be a good hockey player. You need to be able to play. And in Ryan Reeves' career, you look at his on-ice results. He has never come close to being a positive possession driving player. Yep. And early on in his career, he was at least, you could at least say shot suppression was taking place. It's not anymore. He's now bleeding chances defensively. So, and that's on a great defensive team in Vegas. So he doesn't drive any play. He doesn't provide you with any kind of offense other than he stands around and he throws pucks either at the net or pucks bounce off of him and into the net once in a blue moon.
Thank you for the question, by the way.
There is no reasonable argument that he is an effective NHL hockey player anymore. The only conversation that you can make, or only argument that you can make in his favor, is that you think that he's an effective goonish type guy.
I'm gonna turn this entire fan base against me, but Cody McLeod's bottom 6 ability was wildly overrated.
It was.
Just a fact. I know everybody loves him here in Colorado, and he wore the A in some dark days for the Avs, but especially in the last couple years of his career here, it was.
Well, the thing about Cody McLeod is that he was a willing fighter, but he was a bad fighter.
Yeah. Didn't have the size, really. Couldn't really hang with too many guys in the league.
He's a great dude, though.
Oh, an awesome guy. Well, I'm sure Reeves is an absolutely great dude, too, but he's just doesn't have NHL caliber skill.
Are we sure?
No, but I'm not going to call him an asshole when I don't know him at all.
That's what I'll say. I don't know him.
I'll give him.
I'm not calling him an asshole. I'm just saying I don't know him.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he's a good dude because I don't know him. All right?
I'm definitely not doing that.
He could definitely beat the shit out of me. That's for
giving dudes the benefit of the doubt is just
a mistake.
It's just over the last few years, it's like
been proven wrong enough times.
I just don't want to keep doing this. Anyway, I'll stay in the pocket of the people that I've met and have opinions on.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to our most on-brand moves here as we wrap up the show a little bit.
Most on-brand. I'll start off with mine, and I've got the Dallas Stars signing Ryan Suter.
Yep, the oldest dude out there.
There was an old guy on the market, and Dallas not only had to have him, but gave a 36-year-old defenseman a 4-year deal.
4 years. for a dude who had an injury last year or 2 years ago that it was like they weren't even sure if he was going to ever be able to skate again. And they gave him 4 years.
P.S. They also gave him a full no movement clause.
Yep.
On a 35+ contract that pays him $365 per year.
Yeah.
So
they have to eat the whole thing on a buyout. Yeah.
They can't buy him out. He needs to 100% be a good defenseman the entire 4 years.
He will be 40 in that last year.
Okay, bud.
So, where's the retirement home in Dallas? They're just going to build one next to the stadium or what?
At this point, it's becoming the arena.
Yeah, true. They just live there. There you go.
It's just right next to their locker room. They just go across the hallway. No, that's actually their arena is still a little old school. The Avs have to come onto the ice through the tunnel.
Yep.
There isn't like a direct access from the locker room to the bench. Yep. They actually have to come out of their locker room, like wander halfway around the arena, then come out through the tunnel. It's so stupid.
Yep. There's a couple buildings still like that where they don't have. You have to go all the way across the ice to go down the tunnel instead of right on the bench. But
backup goalies don't get to sit on the bench. They have to sit on the
themselves,
chair.
like in the lonely spot. Yeah.
It's so AHL. Every time I see it, I just think about the time that I was in Houston for Phil Sauve's last NHL or AHL game of his career, and I heckled him so badly that he called security on me, and I felt awful about it because I was just like, and I was like wearing an Avs jersey at the time, and so it was like, I don't know, it was
I'm supposed to be rooting for you.
He'd gotten totally lit up.
Yeah.
He gave up 3 or 4 goals in the first period, and they were like, Jesus, this guy's horrible.
Yeah.
And they pulled him, and that was the last time he ever played in North America.
Blame AJ for that one.
Yeah, it was definitely on me.
All right. Yeah, I don't really have any argument with that on brand. My on brand is literally just the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, they did nothing.
Their only move this offseason was signing Blake Coleman. They did nothing else.
Oh, come on. They got Zadorov.
Okay, that's true. They did get Zadorov.
And signed him.
Yeah. To 3.75, was it?
Something like that, yeah. 1 year.
1 year again. Yeah. This was a team that we talked about going into this offseason as someone that needed to do something bold, whether it was try and improve or blow it up or whatever.
Yep.
And they absolutely lived up to their hype of being in the Calgary zone forever.
Yep.
And never escaping it.
Yep.
Like,
didn't do anything meaningful. They were just like, nah, we're good. We'll take it. We'll take our chances.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Good luck.
And they're gonna have Blake Coleman until he's 35, and it's just.
It's definitely weird that it was like, this is what we need.
Yep.
We're gonna lose Mark Giordano and replace him with Nikita Zadorov, and then we're gonna add Blake Coleman to our forward core.
I guess and they're just gonna run Vladar as their backup goalie.
Yeah.
What in the world are you doing, Calgary?
Oh my gosh, Phil Sauve played for the Hamburg Freezers.
Dope.
What a name. They better not have a dope logo.
You know they will, and we're going to regret it because we didn't have it in our logo draft.
It's pretty cool.
It's not that cool.
It's not. I don't want to put it on my list, but I think it's pretty cool.
Dude,
anyway,
there's some cool logos in this German league. Hold on. Got a scorpion in there. Ooh, they got another polar bear. I missed out on a third polar bear I could have put on my list. But
that should have been it. It should have been
5 polar bears.
You should have gone with polar bears, and I should have gone with animals eating hockey sticks.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad I won the logo draft.
Can't wait to do the logo draft again next year.
Yeah, there we go. Make it a tradition.
Yeah, next August. Let's do it again.
All righty. Any final thoughts on the offseason here? AJ, please like and subscribe to the YouTube. Helps us out a bunch, y'all, especially the like button. Gets us out there to people. If you like us, you want us to get more people watching us, that's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts. There were a lot of things that happened this offseason that made me go, I'm excited to get. I'm not ready yet, but it will be fun to see how these things go on the ice. Does all of Calgary's roster have a bounce back at the same time, and Blake Coleman puts them over the top, and he becomes possible. He becomes the new Pat Maroon, where the cup just follows him around. Who knows?
That's why they play the games, right?
That's why they play the games. Everything that we think we know today. I put myself out there saying Dadonov is the worst move of the entire offseason. That dude's going to have 75 points and make me look like a dumbass.
That's the way it goes sometimes.
This is how I really feel what Brad said, is that teams made a lot of moves, and I don't know how many of them actually got any better.
I mean, that's what the saying...
If you ask me who has the best offseason, it's probably Arizona.
Yeah, just taking on picks to pick up whatever.
It's probably Arizona because they came in with no prospect pool and no draft picks, an old, expensive and bad roster, and they capitalized on everything. They went after every bad contract they could get their grubby little hands on. They went for, and they did all kinds of work.
Well, what's the saying
goes? I love it,
sometimes the best move you can make in free agency isn't one.
Yeah, especially in free agency. Yeah, man. Yeah. But if I think that the best offseason is a team that's probably going to finish last in the NHL, it's like,
It was a rough year.
Year. And I disagree with our commenter. I think Edmonton's going to miss or make the postseason, assuming goaltending is just even league average. I think they'll make it. I think they got better. The thing is that they locked themselves into so much of that roster for a long time that I don't know where they can improve beyond this a whole lot.
Yep.
Like Darnell Nurse gets a huge amount of money, and okay, he's a good NHL player. That contract is dumb, but we see guys get overpaid all the time. But it's just I don't know. I think Edmonton is going to be solid.
Well, especially in a weak Pacific Division too.
Yeah,
but. Are they cup contenders? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't think that they're cup contenders, but I think that they're going to be fine. But the moves that they made, they went out and they spent a ton of money. And Risto actually was another thing that I considered for worst move of the offseason.
Yeah, that one. Philly did a bunch of weird shit this offseason.
I almost put the Ryan Ellis deal as my best move, and then the Risto move is my worst move. But I didn't want to make this all about the Flyers.
Yeah, Flyers had a weird offseason.
Dude, so weird. So weird. Yeah, I don't know. When we get into team previews, I think that'll be fun. I do want to. Just a couple of people have asked us, and I think it's the last 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. You and I have done the big league-wide fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about doing it, but I guess if there's interest, we can.
If 32 people want to do it.
We still have the server up from last year.
Yeah,
I keep wanting to take it down because I try and keep my servers.
I just have all my dead ones buried in a folder at the bottom.
Yeah, I just leave them. I don't like it. So, I would want to redraft and redo all of that, and I would want to people who are still in that server. you guys can always just drop us a message and be like, hey, I would like to do it. And we can just kind of start building it from there. And then we can talk about the parameters and what we're going to do. I know in the past we've just made starting lineups and stuff. So
yeah, I'm not doing a full 20 player draft.
For 32 teams,
our
no.
Starting lineup draft took like 4 hours.
I don't have 15 hours to devote to this.
Right.
I should say I do, but I'm not going to give them to you. But definitely a starting lineup and maybe a little bit beyond there. So,
DNVR Avs account, you can contact us there, or also you can contact AJ directly on Discord if you're a lounge member, which will probably give lounge members priority for this anyway.
Yeah. I think that's smart. Anyway, let us know if you guys are interested in that stuff, just because if we get the interest, then I guess we can run it back and do it again. It's always a good time. It's always a fun way to spend a day. So
yep, it's a blast. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Let us know if you're interested. We are out of here for the day. Hope y'all enjoy it. Again, like and subscribe on YouTube. The like button especially gets us in the algorithm. Gets people seeing our videos. If you want more Avs fans out there, more DNVR fans, that's the way to do it. We are off for the weekend, but we'll be back on Monday. Who knows what news there will be, if any. Maybe we'll have some more fun. Maybe we'll get more serious topics. Could be anything. Talk all about Peter Budaj becoming a development coach for the Avs. Yeah, could be fun time. Anyway, we'll see you there. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.